nation is a man-made construct. This may sound obvious to a lot of people. After all, there are no giant lines drawn in the ground that naturally delineate and divide one country from another. All borders are created by the governments of sovereign nations, and all nations are created by a consensus of the people of those sovereign nations. If you don't have a consensus, you don't have the citizenry willing to defend those borders, as defined by those claiming to be the leadership of any country. Furthermore, if you don't have a majority or at least a plurality of citizens willing to die to defend your borders or support the military tasked with the defense of your borders, your country is under the most basic of existential threats of simply not existing. Now, let me put forth the following question. Does impoverishing more of your constituents sound like a policy that will encourage more people to defend your nation? Or, more intuitively, does it sound like a nation that is moving closer to disillusionment and one that could fall into the oblivion that time guarantees? Just look at every empire from history. Not a single one that impoverished its citizens has not fallen apart once reaching and exceeding a certain tipping point. Neither the Roman Empire nor the British Empire exists anywhere other than in the history books of today. In America, however, the leadership of the United States doesn't seem to be considering the masses who empower them. It feels more like the leadership of North America is actively seeking to impoverish more and more of the inhabitants who call these nations home. In the US, people are finding it harder to survive under the rule of an oligarchy. The same can be said about Canada, where the Prime Minister can't find a safe space to even eat a meal in public. So too is this the case amongst nations across the globe. The number of countries where the middle class is thriving and growing is shrinking to the point that coups seem inevitable. The wealthy who are trying to maintain control in any nation might consider the following: either give some of the wealth you've confiscated from the majority back, or have all of that wealth taken back by said majority. If today's wealthy are lucky, wealth redistribution will be the only punishment that they will suffer, as historically the oppressed have become quite violent towards those leaders who have committed the most egregious sins against their citizenry. Et tu, Brutus. There are plenty of people reporting and complaining about our leaders and their failures. How many, however, are offering or even pointing to any solutions? The book Solutions. Enough complaining, Let's Fix America by Chris Osman does and can be found on Amazon or at www.mikesonsentertainment.com. To find out other ways you're being screwed by your current leaders, check out the posts on this blog daily. Learn about the biggest and worst issues that America and its people face today. You can also check in to this blog daily to hear about those issues that America and its people will face in the near and distant future. If, however, you would like to discover possible solutions to either mitigate the worst impacts of these issues or solutions to avoid them altogether, keep listening. The problems we face are not as complicated as so many leaders and news reports claim. They are man-made and are only claimed as complicated so those who are responsible can maintain control. For example, there is a persistent argument that moving government is like turning a cruise ship around. It is supposedly a long process that can only be achieved incrementally. While this may be true for laws and policies that benefit the majority of Americans, it does not seem to be so for that smallest of American minorities. When one examines the policies and laws that benefit that minority, known as the elite or the rich, the speed at which those laws are passed is exponentially faster. While most of us sit on the deck chairs waiting for the Titanic to avoid the myriad of icebergs of which we seem to continually run afoul, the elite ride comfortably in speedboats. If, according to the Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal, why do the rich live quite different lives than the rest of us? Where is our speedboat? In 2018, Chris Osman wrote a book highlighting the problems humanity would face if more power, wealth, and control were funneled to a small group of individuals, groups, or organizations. In that book, Mr. Osman provides solutions, offered up from himself and others, to the inevitable problems we would all face. In it, he also provided a means for the public to analyze, compare, and contrast the words and deeds of those we've chosen to follow against our real-world experiences. To this end, Mr. Osman provides the means for readers to disseminate information as provided by their news sources of choice, their elected officials, and any other authority they choose to follow. The book, titled Solutions, Enough Complaining. Let's Fix America, offers a means to hold leaders up, not just to a higher standard than is currently accepted, but to one that will improve lives. Is your empire better than that of Rome? Click the link below and get your copy of Solutions today.